Terry Murphy, Senior Editor for Realty Times, Women in Business, Women in Real Estate, and In the Men's Room with Murph. And today I have a great man in the men's room. His name is Jim Fite, or as my best friend calls him, James Robert. He is an amazing man. He's a speaker. He picked great parents, by the way. He's a professional business owner with Century 21. How many? 1,200 people in independent contractors right now, Jim?
Yeah, we have over 1,100 agents and another 130 or 40 employees.
That's all. And it started with Little Judge Fite Realty with your dad.
Right.
And Mom Dean, who was also an amazing person. And you wrote, so aside from being a leader, aside from being a very successful businessman and entrepreneur, great dad, and I have, the rumors are, a phenomenal husband, by the way. You wrote this book, which I fell in love with, called Success Through a Recession, Lessons Learned to Help You. And one of the amazing things about authorship is that it gives us a perspective of your experiences, your challenges, your successes as you live them. And yet you've written it in such a way that really helps us. Even in today, as we think, the sky's falling because the market has shifted. Tell us a little bit about what your inspiration was to write the book.
Well, Terry, I was president of the Greater Dallas Association of Realtors in 1986, long before you were born. And, you have this board of directors meeting, and this 1986 was the beginning of a 7-year recession. And being president of that association, largest trade association in DFW at the time, I was interviewed by a lot of folks through that year because that recession actually started right here in DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth. A lot of people don't know that, but
I didn't.
Yeah, gentleman was flipping land to his buddies between downtown Dallas and Rockwall, Lake Ray Hubbard. And he was flipping it, borrowing money, and then his friend would borrow money. And that was the beginning of the end of the savings and loan industry at that time. And so I was president that year, and we had 22 members on the board of directors. And one of the board of directors meetings, I decided to go around the room and ask each individual director, what's going on in your submarket? So everybody just started on my left and went around one at a time, and they were talking about, how the market was down and things were not going real well and so forth and so on, until finally I get over here to about person number 16, 17. And I got to tell you, she went drama queen on me, Terry. She just went, oh my gosh, the world is falling. I'm just trying to survive. I can't, if I can just survive this, if our company can just survive, I don't know what we're going to do. And you don't know me, Terry, maybe you do, well, but the fact is, when I've had enough, I've had enough. And I had had enough. And so when I finally, by the way, as president, you get a gavel, right? Well, I'm not a gavel kind of guy. I'd rather talk to people and listen to people. So I don't use a gavel. But with this lady that day, I grabbed the gavel and I slammed it down on the table. And I said, I am not here to survive. I'm here to succeed. You see, if you set a goal to survive and you don't quite make it, you're done. You're out of business. You're dead. If you set a goal to succeed, whatever that means to you, and you don't quite make it, you're still in the game. And of course, if you do succeed, you're not only in the game, you're ahead of the competition and you're building your business. And at that moment in time, that was one of those moments, taking Chip and Dan Heath's book, Power of Moments. That was a moment in my life where I said to myself, I am not here to survive, I'm here to succeed. And since that time in our company, whenever I hear anybody use a survive word, I stop them dead in their tracks and I comment, we are here to succeed, we are not here to survive. Take that word out of your vocabulary. So that's the answer.
That is amazing. Well, one of the most engaging ways that you wrote the book is that at every chapter, it has a recap at the end, which is really helpful. because there's so many segments. I mean, the segment on why, and it's just serve the community, develop people, have fun, achieve profits. That's all good. And it kind of lines out why we get up every day, suit up and help people in real estate or help people at all. There was the one on core values that I particularly liked. We talk about training, but you really can't train unless you have the core value to manage that and to adhere to and to align to and to collaborate with, which speaks to why you've done so well with what you've done. So I love the way you wrote the book. And I want to mention early that the proceeds from this book, because you let me rephrase that, both you and your wife, P.D. Parker, Fite, adhere to giving back to the community, supporting. And the Jim Fite Foundation. Tell us a little bit about how that started.
Well, it's actually the Judge Fite Charitable Foundation, and named after my father, Judge B. Fite. And so, for years, we are a giving company. We've raised over $4 million for the local Easter Seals chapter through the years. And yet, what we found was there were people in need in our communities that have emergencies in their life, and they don't have the money to take care of that emergency. And so the purpose of the foundation is to really find those people in our communities that have that sudden emergency. It could be their house burned down last night, they're in a motel, their credit cards are gone, somehow they got a hotel or a motel, but the fact is they don't have any money. They need something to bridge the gap, or they don't have the money for a deductible that they thought they would have, or their child. The first grant that we ever made in the foundation was one of our agents who had a child that had seizures, and she had to have a service dog, and as you know, those are very expensive. And we were able, that first grant we ever gave was to this agent so her daughter could get a service dog. And it goes everything from there to the other things I've mentioned. We've helped a lady whose daughter left this lady's granddaughter. She was a waitress in a restaurant. And her daughter left her granddaughter on the steps of a police station. Think about that. They found the grandmother in Dallas, but she had to get a guardianship in Oklahoma and bring her so she could get the daughter out of foster care. She didn't have the money to do that. And we immediately found out about it just by having breakfast one day and at this restaurant. And our people touch people throughout our communities, and they hear things and they're connected. And as a result, they submit a grant request, and the grant can be delivered literally, Terry, within 24 to 48 hours to that person in need.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, you've done a tremendous, I know other secrets about teddy bears and at Christmas and whatever, but it's a 501(c), and in the book, there is a QR code so you can contribute and help, because this is about quality of life for real people. I mean, sometimes we don't know where the money goes, but you get to actually see that. So in your opinion, who should read this book besides everybody?
Well, it's really designed for any entrepreneur, anyone that owns a business, whether you're a one-person business or you're a multi, office, thousands of employees, but generally a small to medium-sized business owner or middle management that are having to work through recessionary times or down what I call tough times in the book. I talk about good times and tough times. Well, we all go through good times, I hope, and we definitely go through tough times if you're in business. And tough times can mean a lot of different things, but in this case, we're talking about dollars and cents when times go down and you don't have the dollars to make payroll. And how do you handle those situations? How do you plan for them in advance? How do you handle them when you're in them? And then how do you say thank you at the end? And you get through them.
Absolutely. So, on page 57, there's a whole story about you in July 1980 where you were sitting around your sister's dining room table. And it was about, if we don't come out of this by December, we'll have to shut it down, meaning our company. And your sister, who's quite a force to be reckoned with, says, I will not be part of a negative goal. I can see her saying that, by the way. I can actually hear her saying that. Our focus is how we're going to succeed. And that really sets the mindset. There's an emotional difference. And I think that's it. You just started to address that, and between the two periods of time, tough times and good times. I mean, good times, you get to breathe a little bit. Tough times, I love to use the roadblock analogy. You know, if there's a roadblock, you got to stop, and then there's the detour, right? But the detour is kind of a silver lining because it gives you a new way to cope. You and I lived through the miserable years of, you know, double-digit interest rates and whatever, but we survived and thrived. In your case, you really thrived. What do you think? Do you think that's one of the main takeaways from this book? Is that all you got? Bring it on. Well, if that's Italian, is that you got? Bring it on. I mean, what, in your opinion, what are the four most important takeaways from this book?
Yeah, so, you know, in the beginning, it's strategic planning. A successful business plans. A successful business looks into the future, not next week. You know, Dave Ramsey says wealthy people live for the future, you know, or 3 generations. Poor people live for Saturday night. Well, the fact is, and I quoted Dave Ramsey, I take that back. That was a billboard that was seen by the president of our property management company years ago. Wealthy people live for the 3rd generation, poor people live for Saturday night. And so planning, strategic planning is a critical part of the real estate business or any business. You know, if you don't have a plan, how are you going to know when you get there? So that's number one. Number two, people. People are important. And I know any business book you read, any book you pick up about growth and development of a career or business, you don't do it alone. And I don't know about you, Terry, I get really frustrated when I hear, especially young people, it seems like, have a tendency of, you know, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And by the way, I was a cocky young person one time in my life until I realized you don't do it by yourself. You know, you got to have other people and you got to have the right people. So people are critical. Communication is another key point. Communicating
Absolutely.
with people. You know, I've very rarely been sorry for over communicating. And I have almost always been sorry for under communicating. So communication is, I think, a good takeaway as well. And then last but not least, you got to take action. I don't care if you're in the good times or the tough times. You know, you can plan, you know, we all know people plan, but they don't do anything. Well, here's reality. If you don't take action, nothing will get done. If you and your people don't take action, nothing will get done. So strategic planning, people are critical, communication all the way through the processes, and then taking action. You got to take action.
Boy, that is so, it's simple, but it's so true. I mean, at the end of the day, no matter what channel we use, we're always communicating, even if we don't say anything. As a leader, and you've been a remarkable leader for many years, and a top professional, especially in the area that you're in, you say under communication, and that, as a master coach, I can tell you all day long how to make that home run, but it doesn't make you Babe Ruth. I mean, you've got to do something. You've got to practice. You've got to pay attention. Focusing on how to communicate, gender, generational, conversational intelligence, emotional intelligence. None of that can go to waste if you really want to be authentic and connect, because connecting and engagement are totally different. But it really starts, Jim, in my opinion, yes, strategic plan. Even if you're a small business, you got to figure out where you want to be, 6 months, 1 to 3, 3 to 5. And the strategic plan is what you set up for your business plan. So then you can put the action plan, because that's where everybody falls down, especially entrepreneurs, because they're passionate, but passion doesn't pay. Profitability and passion work, but not the other way around. And I think one of the most important things is it's got to tie to your core values. And your core values are very clear in this book. And And I think that when we say that, people think it's a check mark. Well, we want to have high integrity. Well, what does that mean? How does it show up? Where does it show up in your business? How do we answer the phone? How do we respect other people in a field? Like what they're wearing or what they look like. But you talk about the book being a school of experience. When a recession appears and the market goes south, no pun intended, it's about succeeding in the tough times. And it talks about how you made success the journey, not the destination, which I think speaks to the wealth piece to it. It speaks to the planning part. It speaks to developing people. I think that team collaboration right now has never been more important. And I think it starts with communication. In your opinion, if you could tell everybody one best practice for communication, what would it be?
Open. In other words, when we were going through the Great Recession, we all, I guess, lived through it, or we wouldn't be on this call today.
Yeah.
And as we were going through this, we certainly have in our companies upper management, middle management, and staff, and in our case, independent contractors, agents. Communicating up and down that line was extremely important. I just finished a tour of all of our offices. We have 23 sales offices here in DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth. And I had the tour. And the topic of my tour was succeeding in challenging times. And yeah, it sort of takes the book, Success Through a Recession. But we didn't call it a recession here in DFW yet, even though my book will describe a recession in real estate may or may not be a recession nationally. And so we called it Challenging Times. And through that dog and pony show in each one of our 23 offices, I communicated where the market was, what was happening in our real estate business, what was happening and I'm talking about the general real estate brokerage business, interest rates and all the things that are going on. But I also talked about what was going on in our company and what we were doing as a company to, one, make sure our expenses were in check and under control, as well as investing in technologies and systems and processes to help our real estate professionals not only get through these challenging times, but succeed. And so that was kind of the message, and that's what I've just finished. 23 offices. I finished the last one 2 weeks ago, as a matter of fact. It takes 4.5 months to get through all of our offices because they're always on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday meetings. So it takes a while to get through them. Yeah.
Well, you do address the marketing, you do address technology. Clearly, if you're really wanting to have a blueprint that has been proven, I would recommend that you get the book. I know, Jim, that you're a sought after speaker. How would people reach you so that they could get more of Jim Fite?
Well, the easiest way, of course, is email Jim Fite, F-I-T-E, @judgefite.com. Judge Fite is my father, founder of our company. We carry his name in all of our companies today. And my phone number, 214-502-0250. You can find me at century21judgefite.com as well. That's our company website. I'm on there somewhere. And so any of those.
It's always such a gift how the universe works to connect people with people. And this is a long relationship. I am personally impressed by this. We've been friends for a long time. You've done some great writing, but I would encourage those of us that are sharing this conversation with Jim Fite to, get this book for somebody who has the wrong attitude or who needs a tune-up. As my friend used to say, Charlie Tremendous, I'm blessed to have so many problems. I'm blessed to have all these challenges. Bless his heart. And you mentioned Charlie. You mentioned Danny Cox. You mentioned Dave Ramsey, Jim Collins. Power of Moments is a tremendous book because it gives you the understanding now. And I want to thank you now for this great interview. I hope you'll join us again for another segment because I think there's more to what you do. to give back that can be a great inspiration for other people. Thank you so much for joining us here at Realty Times in the men's room with Murph. I hope you'll join us again soon.
Thanks, Terry. Great being with you.
And by the way, you can get this book on Amazon.com just right now. Go over there and click it on Amazon.com, find this book, and let's spread the word of success instead of survival. I'm Terry Murphy. Thanks for joining us. Join us again for another segment on Realty Times.